Hey, this is NFTeve, and I'm here with social media futurist, Eugene Capon. How are you today?
I am amazing, Eve. Best day ever, always.
Really? Yeah, today's
Yeah.
my favorite day, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so he's an amazing guy that I fished out of the internet, and he's written a kid's book about the metaverse, all the things you can do in the metaverse. He created the first virtual reality talk show called Glitched. He has a bachelor's in YouTube studies, and he also works with people to do their branding and their social media and YouTubing, among so many other things. He has more stock photography footage of 360 than anyone else. And what else? There's such a long list. What else did I miss?
So just to clarify a couple of things. I had the first virtual reality talk show to ever be ordered like a traditional TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't necessarily the first VR talk show ever. That actually goes to the guy who has Gunther's Universe, and then after that there was the Foo Show, which the Foo Show was actually the first major crowd-funded VR talk show, and then Gunther's Universe was actually a guy in a van, so it's like an indie project that was done. We were the first. We did one season on Altspace and 2 seasons on High Fidelity, and it was really interesting how we got to it. The when I first jumped into virtual reality, I quit my job as a YouTube art. So I was working at a YouTube consulting agency called Press Play as an art director, and somebody showed me a very early prototype of virtual reality. And I was like, oh my God, this is the future. So I quit. And I was like, I want to do this VR thing full time. And this was like 2014.
Wow.
Before it was even, nobody called it the metaverse yet. It was just like, it's this cool thing that's eventually going to happen. And I was like, man, and now it's been like 8 years.
So you already knew it was going to be like in the blockchain, or you just knew that it would be like
I knew
reality world?
So I knew there was going to be a bunch of new technologies that were going to come along and replace the current version of the internet. And at the time, we were in the second like renaissance of the internet age, where like version 1 is HTML and CSS, and we just got out of like the ARPANET, which was the privatized version of the internet by the US government.
Oh yeah,
and then
that.
What?
I've heard of that.
Yeah. It was the thing that everybody was creating in the late 70s and the early 80s. And then came along social media, and that kind of recreated what it really meant to be on the internet. And everyone was like Facebook and MySpace and Twitter and YouTube. And now we have all these amazing new technologies, such as blockchain, NFTs, virtual reality, teleportation, telepresence, like we're talking right now through. And when somebody showed me this very early version of VR, I was like, this is the future. There's so many new things that are going to come along, and I want to be part of the process of helping it grow up and become mainstream. Wow. And so I quit, and I started following everybody I could on social media. And one of the guys I just happened to follow had been recently hired at Altspace, and his job was to put together 16 shows on that platform. And some of those shows were like Reggie Watts, Justin Roiland, who created the show Rick and Morty, the comedy group Josh, which was Sarah Silverman, Michael Cera, Tim and Eric. And then I was approached about one of those slots, and I took it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Outside, there's a little bit of static on your mic.
Oh, is there? I might just be too close.
Yeah,
is that better?
Yeah, it is better.
Is that better?
So you had, wow. So and that's when you created your.
Yeah. So we created the show Glitched. There was a guy who, oh, can you not hear me?
There's like a lot of noise when you're talking, isn't it?
Oh, is there? Okay. Let's see.
Sounds like a little electric static.
Is that better?
I don't know.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, cool. So when I was approached about a show, he was like, "Hey, do you want to take a meeting inside of Altspace?" I was like, "Absolutely, let's do this." And he was like, "All right, would you like a show of some kind? Like, what would you want to do?" I was like, "I would probably want a talk show so I can just interview my famous friends in the VR world and call it a day."
Oh, that's awesome. The
And,
other people
yeah,
at the channel. That is so cool.
yeah. Well, I had come from a YouTube consulting background, and
Uh,
so I had a large. I didn't have like a major following yet, but I knew enough like check mark level 1 million plus influencers that I could be like, "You want an avatar? Want to be in my virtual world?" And there was a guy named Topher Welsh who had been stalking me online, and I was like, "Hey man, you used to be a radio personality." And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool. I have like more of an educational tone to my presence. You're more of a shock jock. I think that'd be a really good, team up." And he was like, "Let's do it." And we got to about 8 episodes in, and we got an email, and they were like, "Hey, we need you to cancel your show tomorrow." And I called Topher. I was like, "Bro, they asked us to cancel our show for tomorrow. And I think that means one of two things. They're either canceling us, which is weird because they're not paying us, and or they're going under." And sure enough, they were going under. And about 3 months later, Microsoft would actually buy them out and revive them, bring them back from the dead. But we had this like property that we spent months building. And this company called High Fidelity, backed by Linden Labs, they were responsible for creating Second Life back in the day. They reached out and were like, "Hey, we really like your show," which probably meant we couldn't afford anybody else that was on that 16 slot roster. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." But they were plug and play. You guys were a complete sandbox. It would take 60 days just to build something for you guys. And they went, "Well, we want to buy a season from you. Like, we'll pay you to do the show here." And I was like, "Nobody buys an NVR talk show. What is this?" And sure enough, they did. They sent us a contract, and we got a manager. And when we got renewed for a third season, we had to form my Studio Capon. So we're like a metaverse creation studio. And we got to tour. We were the headliners at PRLA with our guest iJustine, and we did like Microsoft stores, and we had like Jake Roper from Vsauce 3, we had Philip Rosedale, we had Andrew Edwards from Here Live, we had Barnacle's Nerdgasm. All these like major influencers got to be part of our show for the 3 seasons we were around.
That's amazing. So, like, I personally just got into, I was telling you, I just bought a bunch of properties on Small World. I keep calling it Small World from that one movie.
Super World?
Super World. But actually,
Yeah.
I was the first, I have to tell you, I was the first performance art NFT in the metaverse. And that really rocked my whole world to go into that art exhibit. So I've been an artist for a while, showing museums, galleries, everywhere. And to have that show in the metaverse was like 100 times better than the real life shows, because for one thing, my piece, it was a performance art video, and it was huge, and you could actually go up to it and like see it in different angles.
Mm-hmm.
And then just being in the metaverse was so much more enjoyable. You could talk to people. I met some really interesting people. You don't have to brush your hair. Like, it was just all around good. And the original video that was taken was a virtual reality video. So like that's my next thing. I want to be like the first virtual reality performance art NFT in the metaverse. But like, I'm pretty not that up on anything, and I'm not aware of like how many people are out there like looking for this stuff, although I do know some. So
When you say virtual reality video, are you talking about it was a 360 video that you can like look around post-production?
yeah, I did a performance art in the forest about a year ago, and one of the photographers that was there did virtual reality video of it. So I've seen it, because I don't even own those glasses yet, but he showed it to me. It was so amazing.
That's neat.
I know.
Have you been into a lot of like performance art pieces inside of virtual reality?
No, have you?
I have. Yeah, there's a bunch of different companies that have been putting on performances inside of virtual reality for like 6-7 years now. Actually, so like even when we talk about like metaverse concerts, that's literally just means, you know, VR world concerts. So we're talking about like The Weeknd and Lindsey Sterling and Justin Bieber. They've all done performances inside of like the Wave over the last couple of years.
Yes, I've heard about this. Oh, you're helping me clarify something, because I only know the metaverse through blockchain technology. So the metaverse it's just a .com. Like I've been to Decentraland.com. You go in there, and then I guess if you want to buy stuff or do commerce, then that's in the blockchain.
So the way I would look at it is the metaverse is just a buzzword that we use to describe the third generation of the internet. That's all it is. When people say I'm building my own metaverse, they're actually using the phrasing incorrectly, and it's starting to become like a pet peeve of mine. So what they're really talking about is they're building a VR experience, right? Which could be seen as, you're right, it could be seen as like a website inside of the internet. That's all it should be taken for. When we talk about, you know, blockchain technology, we're mostly talking about, you know, unchangeable digital ledgers and all the information that which it represents, right? And then when we talk about NFTs, we're really talking about a media file of some kind that is represented by a section of that blockchain. But honestly, it's stored on a server somewhere. It's not, you know, like broken down pixel by pixel, color coded, and put up on the chain like that. It's just not something that's done, because it would be vastly expensive to do. And so what you really have are a representation of that digital file that is controlled through a smart contract.
Whoa, so the digital file is on a server.
Yeah, that's how it's transferred up and down, right?
So if I have an NFT, you know, which I do, I put it up on
OpenSea, Rarible.
Well, say there was, you know, like Hickenum, that platform shut down for a while, but then you could still see your piece in other, you know, in your MetaMask wallet or in other areas. So where is it stored?
That really depends on, you know, the service that you went with. That's all it is.
One. So if they stopped existing,
there's a chance you might end up losing the file that you're, yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so NFTs are really just digital receipts, or visually digital receipts of whatever it's supposed to represent. That's all it is.
Okay, so that's cool, sort of. So so if it did get lost, they could eventually like find me via my wallet and be like, hey, we lost your piece, you know, and then
it's a possibility, actually. Yeah.
So Hickenum did shut down.
I don't know what that service is.
It just you know, it's an NFT platform on Tezos. It wasn't the most famous one for a while, but after that, everyone jumped ship. There was other ones being built which were better anyway, but they did shut down for a while, but I guess they still had their servers running. But had their servers stopped running, would that image disappear?
It could. It depends on the system that they have.
Wow, this is so interesting. Okay, but that's not really what I came to talk about. But that is a very important point. I mean, the whole NFT world, you know, there's so many people making so much money, but there are some definite things that can go wrong. Such as I take another picture of my same painting and put it on some other blockchain, you know, and sell it for the same price. But as a one of one, I mean, I could do that if I wanted to.
I mean, you could.
I know.
You absolutely could.
I know. It's not like we live in a world full of moral people, you know, that we're all agreeing to the same honesty level.
I mean, we did come up with the term rug pull specifically to,
Exactly.
you know, because it's been so common.
Yeah, rug pulls. Okay, so we were just talking about too, and the second video I want to talk about your book because I think it's amazing and very exciting. When I saw your book about the metaverse, the kids' book for the metaverse, I just felt excited because of course the metaverse is a place for kids because the metaverse is fun, you know, and the metaverse is cool and the metaverse is, I mean, it's something amazing to do with your free time.
So do you want me to, so I wrote a kid's book called All the Things You Can Do in the Metaverse. And the reason I wrote it is one, I knew I wanted to have, you know, a book of some kind published by the end of the year. And two, my girlfriend's niece and nephew are 4 and 5, Jaden and Selena. And I wanted them to have an introduction to the metaverse. But it was really hard to find books with that kind of topic that had Asian representation. They're both Chinese. And so I was like, well, screw it. I'm going to do it myself. And so it's like, I can actually like show you the inside. So it's literally like a story
it's beautiful.
Of these kids who find VR headsets.
Oh, lovely. Oh my gosh.
And they meet a robot named Bot.
Wow.
Who explains what augmented reality is, what VR is. At one point, they buy digital music in the form of an NFT. They talk about transference through like Bitcoin to do it and computers mining for it. All within like 24 pages.
Wow, and the pictures are gorgeous. Gosh, what a beautiful book.
Yeah, I was surprised I was able to get the entire project done in only 5 weeks.
Did you illustrate it? Because I remember you saying first you were an art director. So you did animations, right? And
yeah, so when I was an art director, what I was doing was I was setting up branding and channels and video editing and motion design, VFX, that kind of thing. And while that wasn't like what I originally intended, like what I ended up doing was just a lot of video editing for like the real estate industry, because the guy who owned the company was a real estate agent. And so it was kind of like blending those two worlds. And my whole focus was like, I want to work on videos that, you know, get millions of views, but nobody wanted to create the sort of content that actually gets it, right? So I was a little disheartened in working there, but you know, I was fresh out of college for the second time. I needed a job, I needed an income, you know, I had bills to pay and student loans to pay back. So that's what I did. But when, you know, VR came along, I quit. I saved up for 3 months, moved into my parents', you know, attic basically, and pursued it full time, and you know, joined every hackathon I could, and I created a film called Journey VR, which was a 360 film that actually got picked up by SIFF, the Seattle International Film Festival, as an official selection. And yeah, so a friend of mine was helping this event called Seattle Fashion, and having VR projects or 360 video projects just wasn't a thing really yet. Like Adobe didn't have any tools for it. Everything was like indie plugins to try to get these, you know, kinds of projects done. Element 3D just happened to be a thing. And I was talking to him, I was like, hey man, do you think that you said they wanted like virtual reality at this thing? What does that mean? They're like, well, they're looking to try to bring all these things into like this fashion show. And I was like, okay, what's the topic? I'd love to contribute or be a part of that. And he went, yeah, there's no real topic. This is the person in charge. And I gave her a call and I was like, hey, I really want to like create something for this thing just to like have something created. And I was like, how long do you need before like it has to be approved? She goes, you have like 28 days. And I'm like, God, that is not a lot of time for a project like this. And so I created this 8-minute operatic space experience where you're in a pod and you get shot out into space and you go through planets and an asteroid field and kind of like a light show at the end. I hired a guy named
I want to go in there.
It was it's actually available for free on the company's YouTube channel. But when I was there at Seattle Fashion Week, helping people get in and out of the experience, a representative from SIFF was there and she saw it. She's like, hey, I'm on the board of people who approve experiences and we want to add VR to the show this year. Will you please send it to me and I'll make sure that it gets in? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So it got in and they covered the fees for like entrance. And Valve was there and they were giving this talk about how they wanted to bring in filmmaking and 360 experiences to Steam as, you know, the video game platform. And I was like, okay, cool. And I got his card and I was like, hey, I know you guys charge to like submit games. What about, you know, 360 experiences? He goes, if you send it to me, I'll forego the fees. I'll make sure it gets in and, you know, we'll put it up for sale and rental. So I did that. And it was the #1 selling 360 experience for 30 days when it launched.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Yeah. Let me just tell everyone, we're going to have your links where they can find all this stuff. I really want to see that video as well.
Yeah, it's looking back, it's now like a very archaic version of like a 360 video. Like the quality isn't very good, but honestly, the music that Adrian did for it it'll make you like openly weep. Well, I know I did.
I still have to get my you know, virtual reality glasses. So it will all, you know, I won't be able to experience it all the way. I'm going to get it just to watch this. Wow.
Do you know what headset you want to get?
No, which one should I get?
I
mean, I'm probably going to be quite involved over a long time. And I mean, right now I'm forming a group to buy. We're buying the land in the metaverse in Decentraland to start a gallery. So
okay, that's cool.
And I have the Empire State Building in Super World and the Sainte Chapelle. And anyway, I'm definitely going there. So I will need the right equipment.
Getting there and all your properties, right?
I know. Can I go sell trinkets at the Empire State Building, like little NFTs of a little?
So you're the second person to bring up Super World to me in like a week, actually, which is really interesting. I haven't really been on Super World. It's just like Earth 2, right?
Yeah, it's just Google Earth. I think see, I haven't even been on it. I just have such a jonesing for buying property in metaverses.
Is that like a millennial thing where you can't like buy IRL properties, so you got to buy it in the
Yes. Yeah, I bought the Drawing Center, which is a famous gallery in New York City, which I've always wanted to show because most of my paintings are on paper. They're all rolled up, so you don't see them. But so I was like, oh, I've always wanted to show in this gallery, and I'm like, oh, now I can. I'll just put my drawing like over the whole thing. So yeah, as far as I know, it's a 360 virtual reality plus it has NFTs. So
and the NFT is the certificate for owning that section of their plot of land, right?
Yeah, it is
That's what it is.
it is an actual NFT. Supposedly you're getting revenue if people are creating revenue in your land. And then also if you, I have hardly spent like 15 minutes in Super World, but you can go and if you click on the area, you click on NFTs, you'll see people selling NFTs in that area. So, okay. So also I do performance art and I own a piece of a pyramid in Egypt. I also do some belly dancing. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go. I always wanted to dance in Egypt and now I can. So that's the answer to your question is like, yes, I can do, you know, I can own these properties. Yeah, I think that is the fun of it because like there's amazing properties still available. I want to buy the Four Seasons Nile in Cairo. That's like a famous belly dance hotel.
So does Super World have a you just said it's like Google Earth, right? That's basically what it is.
That's what I heard. Yes.
So you can't like put on a headset and join a bunch of people in your plot of land, right?
I don't know. I hope so. Oh yeah, I don't know if it's because if it's Google Earth, you don't interact. I'm sure it's interactive.
No, I like maybe you can like look around in the spot that you own.
Yeah, and with the spot I own, you can put things there in the 360. So I don't know what it is. I'm trying to interview Hirsch, who is the sort of the CEO.
Oh, for that project?
Yeah. So I can find out more. I really don't know that much. So I think I would have like researched it like super heavily before buying into it. But that's just But maybe it'll like pay off super well, and you'd be like, I'm so glad I took that leap. I'm just a futurist. Like I have good. I bought Bitcoin. I didn't know what it was. All I knew it was a money that wasn't owned by governments, and I was like, okay, I'm getting some. Like,
fair enough.
I just have like a general, and then later I just studied blockchain academy or whatever to understand it. But I jump first and then, you know,
and then figure it out.
Because maybe I wouldn't be able to get the Empire State Building.
That's totally valid.
Oh, and once you see all these properties, you're like, I can't believe they're still available. And definitely totally high risk. And there could be another better Super World come along in 6 months or a year or 2 years, you know.
Given how early this space is, they're probably both.
Yeah, but it might be the first and the best. You never know.
I hope so, because you know, then you can like sell it and make $1 million, right?
Yeah, I don't know about 1 million, but that would be great. 1 million would be good. I could make $1 million.
The Empire State Building might be like, hey, we want every version of our building on every, you know, server ever. Like we don't want anybody else to have like ownership of it. So we'll, you know, have a buying campaign maybe. Yeah,
Google's still available in Manhattan. I almost bought that. But I stopped myself at 5 properties. I'm like, I don't know anything about this. This is it's high risk, you know? So I stopped at 5, but I do want the Google building in Manhattan. You would think they would own it, but whatever, they're too busy. So let me ask you this, like we were talking about,
sure.
So I do performance art and you were talking about this suit. What was that?
So there are a number of haptic feedback suits that will record your mocap data, so you can bring it into motion capture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like when you move, it records all the movements that you're making, and then you can take that recording as a skeleton and you can apply it to a skin, and then you can like have your dancing or your performance brought into a virtual environment, such as a video game or in virtual reality or augmented reality, actually.
What's the difference between virtual and augmented reality?
So the difference between virtual and augmented reality is, one, when you put on a VR headset, you have a virtual environment around you. Augmented reality means it is taking one of your senses and it is augmenting or changing it specifically on data around you. And when we talk about this, it's usually like, hey, I'm going to use Snapchat and I have an AR filter which changes the way my face looks, right? Or I might have a chip implanted in my tongue that makes everything taste like ice cream when I want it to, even though I'm eating salad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's augmenting your reality.
That is changing different senses of your reality. Yes.
So a virtual reality is more a realistic.
Virtual reality is a virtual environment that you yourself are being putting yourself into from your personal view. Other people can join that environment, such as say a multiplayer mode or some sort of expansive data set that they were already there, right? And then you have mixed reality, MR, so AR, VR, MR, where you as a real person are put into a virtual environment and other people are to perceive the real you in that virtual environment, such as mixing the realities.
Wow, that's a lot. So if we wanted to learn a lot about this, do you, I know on your channel, I saw a lot of your footage and some talks, but like how could we learn more about this and, you know, just to have a more solid understanding, because you've just said like so many things that mostly are new, you know, I had not thought about them in these separate categories, which, you know.
Well, I mean, virtual reality in its current state has been around for about 8 years. Augmented reality too, the technology always gets a little bit better as like new headsets come out, new programs come out, updated versions of programs come out, and then all the different tools that are used to create these experiences, right? So if you want to like actually learn about it, I would say go be part of the community, do 50 hours of research, watch talks, join Twitter Spaces or Discord or Clubhouse. I mean, if you want to learn it, be part of it. I would say anybody looking to get into this world as a contributor, I might say find a local hackathon or a game jam and go be part of a team and go invent something new, or be part of a team that, you know, might create like a prototype of some kind over a hackathon that might lead to a real company later on if you guys so choose.
Wow, I want you, when we have our Decentraland gallery, it's going to be a really like a fine art gallery. I want to invite you to do like a book, you know, a book sharing, a book sale. Wouldn't that be cool?
I have been telling people when we sell 1,000 copies, I'm going to take the pages, turn them into NFTs and give them away to people.
They are beautiful. I want to end this one and then I want to make another quick video just showing your book, because I think your book is beautiful. And
oh, thank you.
And I think it would just be nice to have like a little short, like this is the book, you know, sort of a little commercial for your book. But sure. So that's a lot, because I do want to do, I do want to get into virtual reality. I do want to be there, but I don't know how I'm going to fit it into my schedule. I guess all of us, like, you know, in the crypto, the tech, the NFT world, it grows so fast every day. And there's like 100 things you want to learn. And then you're like, no, I can only learn maybe one of them, you know?
Well, I think when you break everything down to the bare bone basics, it's not too complicated. I mean, you don't have to program smart contracts to know how to mint an NFT, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to know how to make 3D models to enjoy a 360 video that's on YouTube, right?
True.
Yeah. You don't need to know how to use Snap Lens to use Snapchat and use the filters. I mean, just knowing that the technologies are available and what maybe the process of creating them is, I don't think that difficult.
Yeah, I usually just find somebody who knows. So say if I want to buy some glasses or goggles, whatever, but I don't want to buy the most expensive one right at this very moment because crypto is super down.
Mhm.
And I got a lot going on. Like, what's like a good sort of value one, but that's also a high quality one? Like, I don't want the cheap one. I don't want the cheap one either, you know?
Go with like the Index or the Quest, or maybe find a used one.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If you're looking to get something a little bit more professional, more high end, probably something to build projects with.
Uh-huh.
I would go with the Vive. I mean, it's older, but it's like sturdy and
Vive?
it connects to your PC.
How much is that?
Yeah, HTC Vive.
How much is that one?
I mean, a full pro version, you're probably looking about 1,000 to 1,200 maybe. But if you're
Probably
looking
worth
for,
it, right?
yeah, but if you're looking for like a more standalone VR headset, I think the Index is like 400 USD.
But then if later you want to get like real professional, you have to get the other one. So
Yeah, I mean, you could, have an entire pipeline where you develop what you want, export the SDK, and then install it into your headset directly.
all right.
I mean, you're really going with whatever makes you comfortable and what your availability is.
Well, I'm gonna look into it because I'm pretty sure like that's where I'm going. I just haven't been there yet. So what's your next big move?
My next big move for this podcast, or to say on this spot, sorry, my roommate's here making noise. Hi, Topher. So we're working on a game right now. And then I signed on as an advisor onto Jaws NFT, which is a security compliant NFT project that has real dividends for people. So yeah. So you make about, at the current market, probably about 6,500 a year in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Just from owning the NFT.
Wow, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah, so it would be like,
so you have a Spaces, Twitter Spaces, Jaws NFT, or what's the name of your Jaws?
So Tyler, the guy running the project, him and I have a weekly show on Tuesday called Shark Bites. And we talk about the metaverse, and people ask questions about Jaws NFT. We sit there and we answer it.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I want to learn about it because it sounds like a really good investment. And
I would say it's a great investment. My role is more of I advise on the side of virtual reality, because as part of the roadmap offering, we are building a in virtual reality club. So if you own the NFT, you can come into the virtual club.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a casino. You can play golf. You can rent out suites for a year if you want, if you have the money.
Suites for sleeping?
Suites
or
for like
for parties,
or holding private parties. Yeah.
And then everyone like passes out and wakes up the next day and sprawled all over the suite.
Have you ever seen people in like VR chat with full body tracking rigs?
I have not.
Like there are people who will like go to sleep in like the suits and stuff, and you just see like they're clearly passed out, but they're like avatars just spread out in whatever world they're in.
That's cool. I like it. I think that sounds I don't know. I don't see any end to this, and I don't see. I mean, I think it was so smart that you quit your earlier career when you discovered, the virtual reality, because, and thanks to the coronavirus and worldwide lockdowns, like it just sped everything up 100 times, because now we're all like, we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything. How are we going to live, So.
Yeah, I think the telepresence industry really took off because of it. I mean, I know Zoom like made $1 billion or something crazy, right? Because every school in America suddenly had a license.
I just have to say, I've always been like way ahead. And so 10 years ago, I was teaching like workouts on Zoom and did yoga on Zoom, abs. And I taught Zumba dance, cardio dance on Skype. And I could never figure out why I couldn't get more people. I was like, this is so brilliant. Where is everybody? But people just couldn't get their mind around it.
Yeah, I like to tell people that we went from a gig economy to a live stream economy overnight. COVID.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Is there anything else you want to share before we close and just look at your book real quick in the next video?
I do want to address the statement you made at the beginning of the video on the stock photography. So they're just me and a VR headsets, and I put them out for free on Pexels, and they have like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so I put them out on Pexels. They have on the account alone, they have like 8 million views. Wow. And 35,000 downloads.
What's your name on Pexels?
So my username on everything is either my name or Capon Design.
Capon
Design.
Capon Design.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like, Vice ran a campaign with my face on it. Google Finance. I got invited to speak at an event once, and they asked for a headshot, not realizing that the person they were using on the banner for their entire event was already me. Because they couldn't, I was wearing a headset, so they couldn't tell it was me. But no, like I've actually done like deep dives and found like my face on like walls of VR studios all over the US. We estimated that there's probably about 50,000 videos, news articles, ads, articles, all using my face on them.
Wow,
which is really interesting.
And now I have them on my computer. I'll probably use them in some of my
Oh yeah. And it was something that took me like 2 afternoons. We did it twice.
You did look familiar. I'm sure I've probably seen it, because I was like, your pictures are really
I would have no doubt.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, it looks familiar. I was like, maybe just looks like that guy that shows up in tech commercials and stuff like that.
No, it's such an interesting time to be alive. Like I have no illusion about like the usage, because my face has been used on everything from like articles about the adult industry to is the metaverse real, to like
they have you with your goggles on and then some like creepy picture from the neck down.
Yeah, like that's, and it's really interesting, like what do you give up when you become like a stock photography model? But it was so early in VR that I was like, how do I get my face out there before everybody else? Well, just give it away for free, let it take over by itself organically. And there are like free stock photography sites that just downloaded the entire catalog and reposted. So I can't even like control where they're being posted for people to grab them. So I have no analytics or statistics from those websites.
Wow. Do you get any money at all, or you just get notoriety?
People are free to tip if they want. And so every once in a while, somebody will send me like $5-10.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's not what it was for, right?
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what the next thing you're going to do is, but you've been like right on the cutting edge of everything for quite a while now.
It's been a long road. It's been really interesting. So I've been doing this for about 8 years, and things really haven't been taking off since like the last year, right? So I was so early in like making all these predictions, and everything I've predicted has basically come true. And but I had to like wait for it to like get there, right? And so I think in terms of like being a thought leader, I definitely get to like I did it. But I think the biggest line is like the consistency in my messaging as far as going, this next level of the internet is definitely going to show up. This thing called the metaverse will exist.
Showing up
But
quick.
yeah, but now I just have to like educate people on what that actually means, because like 50% of people get it incorrectly, and I get like news articles going, the metaverse, like Zuckerberg's,
I know that's the
VR.
worst part, that everyone thinks it's
Yeah, and I'm like,
Zuckerberg owns the metaverse. Oof.
it's like no, he hijacked the branding from Snow Crash, which was a book from like 1992, and it's basically a way for Facebook to stay alive because they've already gone through their social media life cycle. And what happens when you can't grow anymore? You have to pivot. And so he's trying to stay alive by doing this.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate Facebook so much. Because I don't even want to talk about them. They're not worth it. Wow. So that's great. So now all of a sudden it's like your time, like you're perfectly poised, like to be, one of the most knowledgeable people, in these areas as anyone.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who's been in this for a year and claiming to be an expert, suddenly I've been doing this for 8, which means that should I have like 800% more experience than them? Yeah. I mean, there are other people who've been doing this way longer than me, like Philip Rosedale or Tom Furness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you need a bunch of them. There's a whole world to bring up to speed. But have
you been paying attention to CES?
No, what's that?
CES is the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and it happens every January.
Ooh, all right. And
so there are all these companies who are like, all their branding is like metaverse. And they're not even using the phrasing correctly, and their products have nothing to do with what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And a friend of mine, Nima, actually is there right now, and he made an entire long photo series of all these companies who are using it incorrectly, and it's just hilarious.
Yeah, it's because these kind of things is like, it's like crypto, like you can't learn it because you have to, like, luckily for me, I just feel like I got the great fortune of being obsessed with crypto, when I heard of it, because if you don't love it and you're not experienced in it, you're going to have and probably, unless you're just like a magnetic genius, who understands everything, you're going to really have a hard time to understand it, and why it is, Wow, these are exciting times, and I'm coming to the Jaws show because you piqued my ears with securities, compliant, Bitcoin rewards, NFTs, and sharks. Those are because who knows what's going to happen when the securities, that the SEC gets, in their hands in the NFT world. So that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was amazing. We're going to have all of your links below so that people can find you and follow you. And I feel like, if I want to know what's going on, the next amazing thing in the world, I'll have to check in on you and see what you are creating.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Thank you. Have a great day. Ciao.